There is so much news going around the NFL right now because all 32 teams are at the NFL Combine, and the Chargers are no different. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the different storylines that are going to affect the Chargers, but I think it is important to kind of give away one of the storylines right now, and it's that I finally believe that quarterback one, Justin Herbert, my savior, my hero, is going to find a way to get some help and get some protection. It definitely feels like the Chargers realize the error in their ways the previous year and are going to find a way to build back up that offensive line to allow Justin Herbert to make sure that he's able to throw the football around the way that he needs to do. If you believe that the Chargers are having the perfect offseason right now, make sure that you come on in and smash that like button. I truly believe that the Chargers are in a position where they have built a great coaching staff. They are positioning themselves to sign great free agents, and they're positioning themselves to get the most out of their draft picks. So to me, when I look at what this Chargers team is doing, they are completely building towards that perfect offseason. So if you believe just like I do, if you agree with me, go on in and smash that thumbs up button because the Chargers, they're building towards something very, very special. This is Chargers Now. I am your host, Will Ortner, and there's some major edge group questions when it comes to this Los Angeles Chargers team. You got a couple of edge rushers who are going to enter free agency and one who could potentially be extended. We're going to dive into those potential free agent guys right now. When I look at Odafe Oweh and Khalil Mack, it is very clear that the Chargers want to find a way to make sure that they're both still with this team and with this squad going into the 2026 regular season. What I think is important to kind of note, though, both players are going to be highly sought after, especially a guy like Odafe Oweh, who can add to a team for a multitude of years, where Khalil Mack does kind of feel like he's on the tail end of his journey. Now, Joe Hortiz had this to say when he was at the NFL Combine: "I have no problem having a bunch of great edge rushers," end quote. I think that is very important to kind of note, and I think that is a great attitude for this Chargers team to have and this Chargers front office to have, because now you are building a defense on the edges. You are building a defense around two players or around a group of players that can get after the quarterback. And we've seen that when this Chargers defense is cooking on all cylinders, even going up against a team like the New England Patriots that went on to be the AFC champions, the Chargers were able to stay in that game for most of it because of how well the defense played, constantly getting after Drake May, not allowing the run game to really get going, and I was very impressed. Now, if the Chargers are going to bring back this crew, it is important to kind of note that Khalil Mack and Odafe Oweh did not spend their entire seasons with LA. Khalil Mack because of injuries, right? So he did not play a full schedule there, even though he did have his entire year with LA. Odafe Oweh, on the other hand, he was traded for about midway through. But both players obviously did a great job of getting after the quarterback while also getting after the run game, getting a lot of TFLs there. Now, it is important to mention that the Chargers believe that they can get both of those guys back without having to franchise tag anyone or transition tag anyone, because they are not planning to franchise tag or transition tag anyone. So that is something that it is always going to be important to note when you're talking about this team in LA. They believe that they can sign both of those edge rushers for lower than the franchise and transition tag. I expect the Chargers to be very active in free agency. Obviously, LA has a ton of cap space, so you might as well use it. While also having a ton of cap space, the Chargers will be very active in trying to retain their guys, and if they don't, there's a decent amount of edge rushing talent in this free agency class that they could go after. Important to note, and Hortiz did mention this in a couple different spots, that this is a very deep edge rusher class when it comes to the NFL draft. So do not be shocked if the Chargers decide, if they're not able to return Mack or Odafe Oweh, if they look at some of the edge rushers in this draft and maybe go and use a pick on them or two. Will Odafe Oweh and Khalil Mack return to LA in 2026? Let me know down below in the comment section, yes or no. I feel pretty confident that the Chargers are going to get one of those guys back. Will they get two of them? That I'm not quite so sure. I believe it's time for the Chargers to go and extend Tuli. The kid has been fantastic in his time in LA, while also becoming a premier edge rusher in the National Football League. When I look at this defense, Tuli is the type of player that you could potentially build around. Now, Odafe Oweh, while he's not old, he also isn't necessarily one of the younger guys in the National Football League where Tuli is. So could the Chargers decide to go and extend him and try and make sure that he's locked down in LA? Now, General Manager Hortiz said that while there haven't been any extension talks quite yet, that is something that they could definitely work on.
No, we have not begun them with Tuli yet. We got a little bit of time, kind of focused on free agency, but we want Tuli around for a long time.
Get that deal done soon, Joe Hortiz. I'll tell you right now, Tuli has been a fantastic player in this defense, and he's only going to get better. Now, I do understand why it's smart for the Chargers to focus more so on this free agent class than necessarily focus on Tuli, who is extension eligible, because that can get worked out later. But I'll tell you right now, lock the kid up. Make sure that he stays in LA for quite some time. That's the type of player that you want on your defense. Make sure that you hit that sub button. We're closing in on 3,000 subscribers on the channel. Help us out. Come on in. Hit that sub button. What are you going to get? You're going to get constant LA Chargers content throughout the year of 2026. The next thing that I want to talk about is the new look offense, because the big move in the NFL offseason was the Chargers going after Mike McDaniel and then actually getting him to turn down some potential head coach openings to be their new offensive coordinator. What is this new offense going to look like, and is it going to be able to get the maximum amount of talent out of all of the players? General Manager Joe Hortiz had this to say.
Myself, Coach, and Chad sat in all the offensive coordinator interviews, and you really got to just listen to ball and philosophy, and really great. Mike's just great person, great soul, great ideas, great energy. Brought a lot of his staff in, and just they bring great energy to the room. There's excitement about what we're going to do, and he's so excited about it. So his excitement rubs off on you right away. And but really looking forward to it. We've discussed some players in free agency. He'll get more involved in the draft process now once we go through the combine. But I'm really looking forward to it. He's been an evaluator his whole life, and he loves this part of the process. So I'm looking forward to it.
If those comments don't get you ready to run through a brick wall, I think you need to check your pulse right now, figure out if you are still breathing. The Chargers getting a revamped offense after Greg Roman's years of not doing really anything that exciting has me fired up. I think we're finally going to get to see this running attack look the way that it should. We're finally going to see Justin Herbert ascend to the heights that we all know that he can, especially if the Chargers are able to build around that offensive line and really strengthen that O-line. We're going to dive into their O-line strengthening plans here in just one moment. But before we do, let me know how fired up you are right now. When you think about what this new look Chargers offense could potentially look like, where are you at on a scale of 1 to 100? You let me know down below in the comment section. Right now, I'm at 110. I am fired up. My piss is hot. My mud is up. That is a old Coach Shoemaker quote there. I'm excited. I hope you're excited as well. Last storyline that I want to talk about from kind of the takeaways from day one of the NFL Combine is how the Chargers plan to protect Justin Herbert. Obviously, Herbert was the most sacked quarterback in the National Football League last year, and I don't necessarily fully blame the offensive line because you did have injuries at both tackle positions, Slater and Alt obviously missing a ton of time with different injury issues, Slater missing the entire season. In fact, the Chargers have to find a better way to keep QB1 upright because he somehow, some way fought for that team to be in a position to make the playoffs when they frankly weren't good enough on the O-line spot. How will they revamp that O-line? Hortiz had this to say.
Yeah, I think Mike's got some good ideas in terms of the ways to protect Justin. And then, listen, we're always going to try to help Justin, and that's throwing more players at all positions to help the team. And so we're going to attack the O-line, we're going to attack the defense, we're going to attack the backs, tight ends, everything. Wideouts. The more weapons and more players we can put around Justin, the better we protect Justin.
When it comes to bolstering that offensive line, there are a couple of different ways that the Chargers are going to be able to do this. They can go and re-sign a key free agent, a guy like Zion Johnson, or they can also go out and make sure that they sign some big name free agents, because as you look at what this team can be, there is some success, or was at least some success, when it comes to the interior of the offensive line, especially behind Zion. Now, the other option that the Chargers have is to really go out and attack free agency, especially in that center position. First, we're going to learn what Hortiz had to say about potentially keeping Zion.
Yeah, we have a range with every player, not just Zion, with every player that we tag a guy with a range, and there's evaluation, and so that's what we do. And you know, is it a hard ceiling? No, I don't think you ever place a hard ceiling on any player, but you have to pay what you think a player's worth, or somewhere near there. And so yeah, we'll see what happens with Zion, where the market goes, if he gets to the market, but we'll stay engaged with him through the process.
Whatever Zion Johnson's salary cap number is going to be, or official salary will be, hopefully it is not too large. He's the type of player that I know struggled early on, but I do think that he could be a cheap option to kind of help build up this offensive line for the Chargers. I did see someone come out and say, well, the Chargers in free agency could potentially go after Trent Williams and bump Slater down into guard. I don't know if that's necessarily the best idea. Maybe we'll explore it in a future video. When we look at the free agent centers right now, Tyler Linderbaum is obviously going to be the belle of the ball, but right behind him is potentially Connor McGovern. Both of these players would be great additions to the Chargers, and I do think that either one of them, if they have the opportunity to come to LA, would, especially if the Chargers are willing to give them a bag. Whatever the Chargers do, find a way to build up this offensive line. Find a way to keep both of your tackles healthy. If you decide to build this team through the draft and go grab a guy like Vega Ione out of Penn State, well, hopefully that he is the right guy and he hits the way that he needs to hit. If the Chargers are going to use free agency, they need to make sure that they sign the right free agents. Because last year, Chargers made some moves to try and help bolster up that O-line. The moves they made in free agency were not the right moves, and it ended up biting this team back in the butt. So don't let that happen. Make sure that if you're going to make a move on that offensive line crew, and you're going to need to make a couple, hopefully Joe Hortiz goes and grabs some guys that can hit. If you love the LA Chargers, make sure that you go down in the comment section today and smash that thumbs up button. It's right there. It's an easy thumb. All you got to do, you click it. It lights up. It's all nice and pretty. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. I said we're closing in on 3,000. Well, that's after we pass this 2,000 barrier mark. If you are the 2,000th subscriber to the channel, I love you. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. And bolt up.